You are 40 years old. It is Monday morning. Your alarm does not ring. You do not have a boss anymore. You do not have meetings. And technically, you never have to work again. Sounds perfect. But there is one small problem. Your money may need to last another 50 years. Maybe more. Getting here was not easy. For years you saved aggressively. You invested every month. You ignored expensive cars. You skipped the luxury apartment. You watched other people upgrade everything around them while you kept putting money into your portfolio. Sometimes it felt boring. Sometimes it felt unfair. But eventually, the number on your screen changed. $1 million. You did it. At 40 years old, you became financially independent. Now let us make the math simple. You spend about $40,000 per year. 4% of $1 million is $40,000. That is where the famous 4% rule enters the story. The basic idea is simple. You withdraw a small percentage of your portfolio each year. The rest stays invested. And hopefully, your investments continue growing over time. It sounds almost too easy, and that is because retiring at 40 is not the same as retiring at 65. At 65, your money may need to support you for 20 or 30 years. At 40, you could be asking it to survive for 50 years, or even longer. But right now, you're not worried about that, because retirement feels amazing. It is Tuesday morning. Everyone else is sitting in traffic. You're drinking coffee slowly. No emails. No commute. No manager asking if you have 5 minutes for a quick call that somehow lasts 45. You travel. You exercise. You finally finish the books you kept saying you would read. You spend more time with your family. You discover something very strange. A weekday can actually be enjoyable. Then something boring happens. Life continues to cost money. You still need food, housing, insurance, healthcare, transportation, repairs, and all the random expenses that appear whenever life gets bored. Then inflation joins the story. At first, you barely notice it. Your grocery bill gets a little higher. Your insurance costs a little more. Travel becomes more expensive. $40,000 today will not buy the same lifestyle 20 years from now. But your investments are growing. So everything should still be fine, right? Then the stock market crashes. Your $1 million portfolio becomes $750,000. Very quickly. Congratulations. You escaped your job. Unfortunately, the stock market did not get the memo, and your supermarket does not care that your portfolio is down. The electricity company does not care either. You still need money, so now you have a difficult decision. Do you keep withdrawing from your investments while they are down? Because when you sell investments during a crash, you are selling more shares to get the same amount of cash. Those shares are no longer there when the market eventually recovers. This is called sequence of returns risk. The name sounds complicated. The idea is not. Two people can earn similar investment returns over their lifetime. But if one person gets a major crash at the beginning of retirement, their outcome can be much worse. Timing matters, especially when you are withdrawing money, so you adapt. Maybe you spend $32,000 this year instead of $40,000. Maybe you delay the expensive trip. Maybe you do some freelance work. Maybe you build a small business. Maybe you work 10 hours a week, doing something you actually enjoy, and suddenly something interesting happens. If you earn $10,000 or $15,000 per year, you need much less money from your investments. Your portfolio gets more time to recover, and your retirement becomes much more flexible. Which brings us to the strange truth about retiring at 40. You may eventually work again, but this time, work feels completely different. You do not need to accept every job. You do not need to stay because you are afraid of missing a paycheck. You can work on something interesting, take a few months off, change careers, start a project, spend more time with your family, or simply stop again. Financial independence does not magically remove risk from your life. Markets can crash, prices can rise, unexpected expenses can happen, and 50 years is a very long time to predict. But maybe retiring at 40 was never really about doing nothing for the rest of your life. Maybe it was about owning your time. Maybe the goal is to never be forced to, because real freedom is being able to choose what happens next. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe for more simple stories about money and economics. and check out the other videos on the channel. See you in the next one.